everyone, welcome to Botany Insider. So in this lecture, we'll be dealing with the topic of Ramachandran plot. It is one of the most important topic from Unit 1, that is biochemistry. We'll be dealing with the Ramachandran plot in complete detail, and also we'll be solving one previous year question for the same. So let's understand about that what Ramachandran plot is all about. So first of all, it is also called as the Ramachandran conformational plot, and it was given by G.N. Ramachandran in 1963. Now first of all, what we have to discuss is that before understanding that what Ramachandran plot is and what are its various features, we have to understand about few more other terms. That is, the first thing that we have to understand about is that what is an amino acid and what are peptide bonds and other things. Why? Because if we understand about all this, then only we can understand about the Ramachandran plot in detail. So we have one amino acid and we have many other amino acids. So two amino acids are joined together by the help of a peptide bond, which is also given the name of amide bond, and many of the amino acids when joined together in a fashion, then it is given the name of a protein. And what is a peptide bond? So a peptide bond is a chemical bond that is formed between the two molecules when the carboxyl group of one molecule reacts with the amino group of the other molecule, and it leads to the release of one water molecule, that is H2O. It is a dehydration synthesis reaction which is also known as the condensation reaction, and it usually occurs between two amino acids. So for understanding this, we have to understand first the basic structure of the amino acid. So the basic structure of amino acid looks like this. In this we have the central atom, and then there are four groups attached to it. So the first one is an amino group, then we have a carboxyl group, and one side we have H. In this it is represented here itself, and we have a R group. This is the variable group, and the variation in this R group leads to the formation of various types of amino acid. So this is about the basic structure of amino acid. So the basic structure of amino acid differ only in the structure of the side chain, that is the R group. That is, I have just discussed that the nature or when the structure of a amino acid changes, that means there is a change in the variable group, or there is a change in this side chain of the amino acid. The exceptional case is a proline where the imino group is present. We'll understand about this in a bit. So this was about the basic structure of amino acid. So now let's understand about that how a peptide bond is formed. So we have just discussed, on one side we have the N terminal and on the other side we have the carboxyl terminal. So the carboxyl terminal of the first amino acid and the N terminal of the second amino acid interact together in order to form a peptide bond, and a peptide bond looks like this, which is C double bond O N H. So this is what a peptide bond is all about, and with the formation of the peptide bond we have the release of water molecule as a end result. Hence it is a dehydration reaction, as we have just discussed. Why? Because in this there occurs the release of water molecule, and you can see that this is the first amino acid and this is the second amino acid, and this linear chain continues. That is, we would be having the next amino acid present here, in which the carboxyl group of the second amino acid and the N terminal of the third amino acid would be interacting, and the same peptide bond would be formed, and we would be having a complete protein formed as a result. So this is how a peptide bond is helping in order to form the proteins by the bonding or by the linkage of the various amino acids in a particular fashion, as we have just discussed. So this was the first basic thing that you have to understand. So now let's talk about the various properties of the peptide bond. So the first property is that it is a type of covalent chemical bond. So what is a covalent bond? I have already discussed about the various types of bond in detail in a previous video itself. I'll put the links of the same in the description box. The process of the condensation takes place during the synthesis of the peptide bond. It is a partial double bond. Why it is a partial double bond? Due to the resonance. It is planar and rigid, and it usually occur in trans configuration. So what is trans configuration now? So trans and cis are two alternatives of each other. Cis means when the atoms are present on the same side, that is when there is more steric hindrance, and trans is when the atoms are present on the different sides. For example, cis means that we have CnNH. So this is the cis area where the atoms are present on the same side. We have O and H being present on the same side, but in case of trans, what happens is the configuration is this way, in which the atom is present on the opposite side. So this is about the trans configuration, and this is the cis configuration. Trans configuration is more usually found in case of the peptide bonds. Why? Because of less steric hindrance, and as a result it is more favorable. Why? Because, and what is steric hindrance first? So steric hindrance is nothing but the hindrance or the disturbance created due to the two atoms being in close proximity. In case of cis nature, what happens is the two opposite atoms are very close to each other, hence there is more disturbance because of each other. And in case of trans, because there is more distance and there is less of steric hindrance between the two, hence it is more favorable in case of the peptide bonds. But there is one exception, and that exception lies in the proline. What is a proline? So proline is also a type of amino acid, but it occurs in both cis and trans nature, and as a result it is also called as isoenergetic. That is, it is most conformationally restricted. Why? Because it contains a imino group. What is a imino group? So as you can see in the figure, this is what a imino group looks like, and proline is a 5-membered ring structure, as you can see. So because of the proline being a 5-membered ring, and also because of the presence of the imino group in case of proline, it occurs in both cis and trans nature, or it occurs in both cis and trans configuration, and as a result it is isoenergetic. And this is one of the most important exceptions that you have to remember. So now let's understand about the second basic thing that we need to understand, that is what are dihedral angles. So we have discussed about the first thing, that what are peptide bonds and how they are formed. Now let's understand about the dihedral angles. So the torsion angles are called as the dihedral angles, and they're formed between two planes. They are also called as the Ramachandran angles. And also, what is the importance of these angles? So it describes the rotation of the polypeptide backbone. We have to understand this by the help of this diagram. So as we have just discussed about the peptide bond, that is the reason why I have explained you first that what is a peptide bond. Now it would be very easy for you to understand about the various other concepts also. There are 3 dihedral angles, and those dihedral angles are, the first one is phi, then the second one is psi, and the third one is omega. All you need to understand is that what is the area where these angles are actually formed. So the first one is the phi angle. So the phi angle, as you can see, is formed between the N and the C alpha. So what is C alpha first? So when we consider the position of the carbon in a amino acid, the first carbon is given the name of C alpha, and the phi angle is between the N and C alpha. So between the N and C alpha, we would be having the phi angle. You have to remember this. So you can see between N and the C alpha, we are having the phi angle. The second angle is the psi angle, which is found between the C alpha and the C. So you can see that between the C alpha and the C, we have the psi angle. So between C and C alpha, we have the psi angle. This is the second thing you have to remember. And the third thing is about the omega angle. So the omega angle is found between the N and the C. So between N and C, we have the omega angle. One more important point you have to remember about the omega angle is that the peptide bond, that is, in this type of angle, there is no rotation allowed, or we can say that omega angle is in the fixed position. only the phi and the psi could rotate around each other. So you have to remember that the omega angle is fixed in nature, and the phi and the psi angles could be changed depending upon the positions of the bond that we are studying. So the plot, that is the Ramachandran plot, provides a very easy way to visualize the distribution of the torsion angle in the protein structure. And because of the change in these angles, that is because of the change in the torsion angles only, what happens is there occurs change in the protein structure. We would be discussing about the protein and their structure in detail, but in this video you just have to understand that protein have various level of foldings. That is, first we have the primary level, then we have the secondary level, then we have the tertiary, and finally the quaternary. So we have to understand that these foldings, these levels get increased as and when the angles between the various components that we have just discussed gets changed. So this is the reason why the value of the angles should be calculated very precisely, and for the same reason the Ramachandran plot is helping us out. So what is the need for the dihedral angle? So there are three main importance. First one is that by analyzing the allowed and the disallowed region of the torsion values, the assessment of the quality of the 3D structure of the proteins can be done. Second one is the torsion angles control the protein folding, as I have just told you. And the third one is that these angles provide flexibility that is required for the folding of the peptide backbones. Prediction of the 3D structure becomes very easily. So this was about the dihedral angles. So now what is a Ramachandran plot now? So we can say that in simple words, a Ramachandran plot is a plot that is used to visualize the energetically allowed regions for a polypeptide backbone, the torsion angles phi and psi of a amino acid. So now you can see that you can very easily understand this definition. Why? Because I have made you understand about that what is psi and phi angles, and also what is a amino acid. The next point is that it is used to analyze the structure of the protein, the conformation of the amino acid that is present in the protein, and also the close contact between the atoms. So this is the reason why we use the Ramachandran plot. A Ramachandran plot is a plot for the torsional angles, that is the phi and the psi, for the residues, that is the amino acid that are contained in a peptide. What is a peptide? So a long chain of various amino acids joined together by the help of the peptide bonds is what is called as a peptide. So by making a Ramachandran plot, the protein's structural scientist can determine that which torsional angles are permitted and can obtain the insight into the structure of the peptides. So by now we can conclude one thing, that in Ramachandran plot we are trying to find out the structure of the peptide in order to understand their nature, and for that we have to find out that what would be the phi angle and what would be the psi angle between the residues of the polypeptide that we are focusing upon. So in the Ramachandran plot, the 2D structure of the protein is analyzed. You have to remember this, that we are analyzing the 2D structure of the protein in case of Ramachandran plot. And in the 2D structure or in the secondary structure of the protein, we mainly analyze the alpha and the beta sheets. When we would be dealing with the structure of the protein, at that time we would be understand about all this, but for the time being you just have to understand that in the 2D structure of the protein we mainly have the subcomponents as the alpha sheets and the beta sheets formed, and in Ramachandran plot we are actually trying to find out the 2D structure by analyzing the alpha and the beta sheets shape in case of the proteins. So now we have to understand about that what are the various regions that are present in the plot. So we have just discussed that it says that in this what we are doing, we are trying to visualize energetically the allowed regions. So we have to understand that what are allowed regions as such. So talking about that, so the plot has three main regions. The first one is the core region, the second one is the allowed region, and the third one is the disallowed region. So these are the three regions that are found in the plot that we study. So talking about the core region, so the core region is the most favorable or the most common region for the phi and the psi. And what are phi and psi? I have just discussed. These are the torsional angles. So in the core region of the plot, we would be finding out the phi and the psi. And then we have the allowed region. So in the allowed region, what happens is that there is a intermediate steric hindrance between the bonds that we are focusing upon, and also it shows the steric chemical properties of the proteins. It is a low energy region and also it is of very high density. And one more thing we have to remember, that both alpha and beta sheets are found in the allowed region. That is, in a plot, consider we have this allowed region, for example. So in this allowed region, we would be obtaining those proteins that actually have alpha and the beta sheets in the maximum amount. So I'll be explaining you how to read a plot in the next slide itself. Then we have the disallowed region. So in the disallowed region, there is maximum steric hindrance present. Hence, there is very less of the proteins found in this region. So you have to remember about the various region. The first one is the core region, second one is the allowed region, and the third one is disallowed. So this was about the various plots. Talking about one more important thing, so now you have to remember two important points in case of the Ramachandran plot, that is, glycine amino acid have the largest area of conformationally allowed space in the plot. That is, we would be finding glycine in the maximum amount in case of the Ramachandran plot, and proline is not found in the plot. Why proline is not found? We have already discussed about two reasons. The first was that it is a 5-membered ring, and second one was that in this we had the cis and trans both conformations present. In addition, we have to remember about that in this there is beta band found. That is, it is a type of a structure which is found specifically in the proline, and because of that it is not found in the Ramachandran plot. The next important property is that it is rigid in nature, and finally is that it is a bulkier protein. You have to remember about the various features of the same. In the exam itself, many times the question is asked from these points itself, not directly, but in some way or the other this information is used. We will be solving a question, in that also we would be using out this information as it is. So now let's understand about that how to read a Ramachandran plot. So the Ramachandran plot, also known as the Ramachandran diagram or the phi and psi plot, it was originally developed in 1963 by G.N. Ramachandran, as we have discussed about it. So this is how a Ramachandran plot looks like. What it is all about is, so this is how a Ramachandran plot looks like. We would be first plotting down the values. The 0 is taken at the middle, and then the area in the right hand side of the 0 side, it is positive for the phi, and the left hand side we have the negative for phi. From 0 the value goes on up to 180, and in the opposite side it goes on to minus 180. In the y axis also the central portion is taken as 0, and then in the upward direction we have plus for psi, and up to 180 it goes, and in the downward direction it is minus psi, and it goes on up to minus 180. So we have the range for the phi and the psi form minus 180 to plus 180. So this is the range for the angles. You do not have to remember about the angles as such. All you have to remember is that which of the particular amino acids are found in which regions. So the first one is the white region, that is the region which is white in color, as you can see. So in this it is sterically disallowed for all the amino acid except glycine. As we have discussed that glycine is found in the maximum amount, so glycine does not have any allowed or disallowed region in case of the Ramachandran plot. So the white region is the sterically disallowed region for all the amino acid but except for the glycine. Then we have the second region as the red region, that is this region, in which it is the allowed region, and namely the alpha and the beta sheet conformation proteins are found in these regions. The third one is the yellow region, so it is the outer limit, that is alpha and beta are found but to a lesser extent as compared to the red region. So this is about that what is the actual features of the Ramachandran plot. So talking about that which are the various components that are found, so you have to remember about the quadrants first. So this is the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, this is the third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant. In the first quadrant, what we have is mostly the left-handed alpha helix containing proteins are found. In the second quadrant, we have the maximum density of the types of proteins found, that is we can find the anti-parallel beta sheets protein, then the parallel beta sheets, collagen triple helix, right twisted beta sheets. You have to remember about this. In the third region, we mainly find the right-handed alpha helix, and in the fourth region, very less or almost negligible amount of amino acid could be found out. So on the x-axis, we mark the phi angle, and on the y-axis, we mark the psi angle. The value is taken from -80 up to +180, and for the phi angle also the value is taken from -80 up to +180. So you have to remember about this. So this is all about that what you actually have to focus in the Ramachandran plot. One more important point you have to remember is about the various quadrants. I'll just quickly point out all of them. So in the first quadrant, it shows the region where some conformations are allowed. This is where the rare left-handed alpha helix found. So in this, it is the area where the very less type of conformations are found, and the most rare type of conformation, that is left-handed alpha helix, is found. So this is about the first quadrant. Then we have the second quadrant. So this one shows the biggest region for the graph, and this is the most favorable conformation of the atom. In this, most of the amino acids that are found is they are of the beta strands, that is sterically the most conformationally allowed region is for the beta sheets present in the second quadrant. In the third quadrant, it is the next biggest quadrant, and in this the right-handed alpha helix is found. Talking about the last quadrant, so in this there is as such no outlined region, or we can also call it as a disallowed region. And with this, we're done with the complete topic of the Ramachandran plot in detail. I have tried to cover every basics of the Ramachandran plot possible. So now let's try to understand and solve this question. So the question says, the following are the four statements that is given for the peptide or the protein conformation. So now there are 4 points that are given, and you need to find out that choose the combination with the correct statement. We have to find out the correct statement. Let's go with the first point now. So the first point says that glycine has the largest area of conformationally allowed space in the Ramachandran plot of phi and psi, which is a very correct statement. Why? We have just discussed that glycine is found in the most area of the plot. Hence, this is the correct statement. I have told you this is a very important statement, and many times this has been repeated in the paper. So 1 is the correct statement, and then we have the second statement as a 20 residue peptide is acetylated at the N terminus and amidated at the C terminus that has these values for the residues. It can be concluded that the conformation for these is helix turn strand. Let's keep this on hold. Let's go to the third statement now. So it says that the allowed values for phi and psi for the amino acids in a protein are not valid for a short peptide, which is an incorrect statement. Why? Because the length of the peptide does not matter in case of the values that we are focusing upon. Hence, third is an incorrect statement. So eliminate C from both of them. The fourth is that a peptide acetyl A1, A2, A3, A4, CONH2, that is A1 to A4 are the amino acids. They adopt a well-defined beta turn. A dihedral angle of A2 and A3 determine the beta turn. So now this is a theoretical statement, and you have to add it in your notes. This is a very correct statement. This statement have been asked previously also in the CSIR as it is statement was written. So make sure that you add this in your notes, and it is a correct statement. So we have first and fourth being the correct options, as and hence we have the C being the correct answer for this particular question. And with this, we're done with the complete topic of Ramachandran plot in detail along with the previous year question. I hope this video was helpful for you, and if you like this video, please do like, share it with your friends, and please subscribe to my channel. I'll be coming up very soon with more informative videos as well. And also, if you have any doubt in any of the topic that you are studying upon, you can let me know in the comment sections below. I'll try to make a video on the same as soon as possible. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.